Hello. Here we are trying to understand the meaning of solving polynomial equations f of x equals to 0. So the idea here is that different functions are given to us. We need to equate them to 0 and then solve for it. Correct? So these are my three functions here, and I have taken them in factored form. If they are not given in factored form, the first step should be to factor them and write them in factored form, right? Now, this is my first sheet on understanding solving polynomial equations given that they are in factored form. So that's the simplest scenario which you can do. Now here, what I'm trying to solve for is fx equals to 0. Or I could also say solve for x-intercepts. So points where you have x-intercepts. I could also say solve for real zeros. So if the problem is that solve for x-intercepts or solve for real zeros or solve for function equals to 0, then we follow this method. Okay, now that's how it is, and I've assumed that we are given problems in factored form, like here. So here the first function is f of x is equal to x plus 3 times x minus 2 times x minus 5. So solve for fx equals to 0 means f of x is equal to 0 when, for what value of x can f of x be 0? So we equate this to 0, first thing, because we are solving for f of x equals to 0. Or even if you are asking for real zeros, that means when will this function be 0? Or x-intercepts, the points where the function will have x-intercepts. So at those points, f of x should be 0. Is that okay? Even when real zeros, that means f of x should be 0. In any case, the basic question is to solve an equation where f of x is 0. So that is the scenario which we are trying to understand here. Okay? Questions could be asked, as I said, in three different forms. It could be asked as find the points where f of x is 0, find the points where x-intercept are occurring, and find the points of real zeros. Well, if they say find the points, then you should write x and y coordinate also. Y coordinate here is 0. Okay? Then give the coordinates. If they say which are the points where the function will be 0, then saying x equals to this is good enough. Okay? So that's a fine distinction. So read the problem carefully, try to understand what they are asking for. Okay. Now, when will this be 0? This could be 0 when these functions could be 0. So equate them one by one. So we say x plus 3 equals to 0. X plus 3 equals to 0. Solve for x. So that means x equals to minus 3. That is my first value. Now here I can say x minus 2 equals to 0. That means what? X equals to 2. Here I can say x minus 5 equals to 0. Then I get x equals to 5. So what are my solutions? So therefore, my answer here is f of x is equal to 0 at, so you say f of x equals to 0 at x equals to minus 3, 2 or 5. Do you understand? That's my answer. Now let's do the second one. Strategy is exactly the same. When is this function 0? Okay, so equate it to 0 first thing, and then find the values of x for which it could be 0. Easy. Can you do it now? Yes. Let's do it straight. Now here, 2x is your first term. I have seen many times students, they miss this term, right? But this is a real 0, right? At x equals to 0, you get 0. So when is this 0? This is 0 at x equals to 0, right? When is this 0? If I put x equals to minus 3, it will be 0. So at x equals to minus 3, this is 0. Square or any other power doesn't really matter. 0 to the power of anything is 0, correct? Okay. Now what about this? When is this 0? This is 0 at x equals to 4. X equals to 4. So we can write here that this function f of x is equal to 0 at x equals to 0, minus 3 or 4. Okay. Now, let's do the last question. So last question is kind of tricky because I have given factors but not completely. Now here let's go through it. When is this 0? This is 0 at x equals to 0, correct? How about this? 2x plus 5 equals to 0, equate it as we did in the first case. So let's do it. 2x plus 5 equals to 0, that means 2x equals to minus 5, okay? So x is equal to what? X is equal to minus 5 over 2, correct? So that's the value for 0. How about this? Now here you could factor it further. It is difference of squares. Or you'd say x square minus 4 equals to 0, or x square equals to 4. So x is equals to plus minus square root of 4, which is plus minus 2. So we get two zeros for this. You should expect that. Or you could have factored this, right? I could have written this as x plus 2 times x minus 2, and then I could write plus minus 2, right? And therefore I could have written here that f of x equals to 0 at x equals to 0 minus 5 over 2 plus 2 and minus 2. So these are my four values for which this function is 0. Now let me say, if I say find the x-intercepts, well, these are my x-intercepts. If I say find the coordinates of x-intercepts, you're getting the question? Coordinates. So we'll say coordinates. If I say the word coordinates or the points, if I use the word coordinates or points where the function is 0, then I have to write down this answer in a different way. Can you tell me how it becomes different? It becomes different because coordinate means x and y value. So here the first answer will be 0, 0. The second will be x value is minus 5 by 2 and y is 0, right? And third will be 2 and 0, and the last will be minus 2 and 0. So if they are asking for points or coordinates, don't forget to write in this coordinate form. That's very important, okay? I hope you understand the very basics of solving polynomial equations given in factored form. Now, this is my first exercise on this. Next, we will take up where we will do the factoring and then solve it. And then we can have some word problems, which could be tricky at times. I hope you understand and appreciate what we have done here, okay? So, the idea is to introduce you to three similar terms, where the procedure is similar, I should say. When the question is asking for f of x equals to 0 or x-intercepts or real zeros, we are really trying to find the same thing, okay? Unless and until they ask for coordinates or points, there is no need to write them in the coordinate form. You could give just the x value, okay? That's the whole idea about all this. Look into the other videos and see how to solve complicated problems on polynomials. Thank you.